Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I am here for another one of your questions about work. And today is the little things that come up again and again. And so, if you're here for the first time, my name is Roy. I'm a startup investor in the future of work. And more or less every weekday, or sometimes with a guest, take on a dilemma, a regular work dilemma, little or big. And you're welcome to ask by asking them anywhere on the internet where you can find us, Twitter or LinkedIn, or wherever you are at this very moment. All right. So today's question is one that actually came up. Was it earlier today? I don't know. Time's been passing so fast, I don't even know. Which is, how do I make small talk at work? And although I am an extreme extrovert, uh, I also get very socially anxious and I tend to overthink things. And so the how are you question is one that has landed for me as one of these vexing dilemmas over the years. I was saying earlier today on Twitter, it's like, well, do I give a bullshit answer? That's not my style. Oh, great. It's like, okay, move on. Or, this is now passe, but there used to be this time when founders would always say, killing it, which, by the way, let's end the metaphors of death when we're talking about work. But anyway, they're just bullshit because it's just not, it's a reflex reaction. And then I think, well, maybe I should say what I really feel sometimes, which is sometimes I don't know. In that instant, I don't know. And people are always astonished. And then you have this like moment of pause. It doesn't feel like a good solution either. Um, or sometimes I'll be like, do you want the long answer? And so I started thinking, what is the other person really asking? Ed Batista, who's a coach, was responding on Twitter and saying they're really not asking anything. It's really just a ritual to harmonize with the other person. My words, not his. And I sort of suggested maybe you could answer with the Peanuts, the adults from the Peanuts. So like, wah, 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 wah. Doesn't really work either. But it may not answer, but I kind of think all of our interactions, not kind of, I think all of our interactions are meaningful. And if we do something many times a day, it's worth pausing and being present and trying to consider where it comes from. And I believe what people are really asking is they're giving you an opportunity to just vibe a little on where you are and share if there's something that they should know before you dive in, what I call the so moment in the meeting, which is like you have small talk for a little while. And then it's like, so let's get down to business or work. And so one thing that you could do is ask a question differently. You could say, is there anything going on for you, work, life, anything that I should know about? Obviously, the context matters a lot. And so, sometimes just finding something safe and easy in a first meeting, right now with a lot of things on Zoom, often ask, where are you these days? And so people can share a little bit about their life, or if there's some particular object in the frame. And if I'm asked a question, I just try to slow down and give an honest answer of whatever is coming up for me in that moment. And that reduces my anxiety of worrying about whether or not I have something to do, something to say. It also um, it also accomplishes the goal of harmonizing a little bit. A thing that I struggle with is, when is the right moment for the transition from the end of the small talk to the work? I'm often like, okay, cool. We've done the small talk thing. Let's go. And I'll frequently hear a reaction from people. I don't quite say that, but I vibe that. And I'll frequently hear a reaction from people like, oh, okay, I guess we're just getting right into it. And it's like, yeah, the work is one of my love languages. So we're just getting right into it. That's true. But one thing you could do is say, does it feel like time? You can ask, does it feel like time to get down to our meeting or what we were here to talk about? Sometimes the transition happens naturally and you don't notice it, which is great when that happens. But I'm thinking about the moments where you're just kind of unsure. And sometimes in a bigger group setting, you're just hanging back, and that's okay too. One thing I'll just say is that the choice of subject, if you choose to bring it up, does say a lot about you, and if you represent an organization, your organization. And Kieran Snyder, who's a founder we've been fortunate to back, pointed out in a conversation about creating inclusive cultures that often the choice of small talk can really be inclusive or exclusive. Talking about sports, some people might not feel comfortable, depending what culture, nationality, race, background somebody's from, gender, they may feel more or less comfortable. I used to work at a video game company, and so we often ended up talking about video games, which, fair enough, that's what we worked on. But I'd often noticed that there were people who worked for the company who just weren't that into games. And like, was it okay that they felt excluded from that conversation? Maybe, maybe not. So I would just think intentionally about what you're trying to communicate and try to know subjects that feel like they send off the message of what it is you want to send off a message about. And so, in the case of Bloomberg Beta, we're all about the future of work. And so one of the things we believe about work is that people should try to bring their whole selves to work. And so we'll often talk about subjects that, without prying, will give people an opening to share something that might be personal, anything going on in your life that I should know about, or that you want to share before we get down to things. And people might say no, in which case great, or they might say, yeah, I've been really depressed, or depending what's been going on in their life, they might share something different. Guy Cohen, another founder we back from Wonder, helped me come up with that. So that's generally how I think about it: is question the question, come up with something that achieves the goal that you want it to achieve. And then, whether you're responding or giving, where you're asking a question or responding to one, just think about what topics you choose and the message they send about you and about the organization, to try to achieve those goals. And lots of different personality types handle this stuff differently. With old friends, I sometimes don't even say hello. I just jump right into whatever the first thing in the meeting was going to be, and they laugh a little, and then we move on. Because for me, work is a love language. So that's today's answer. The reason we call it not advice, for those of you who are here for the first time, is because this is not saying what you should do. In fact, I've given many choices, a way of thinking about it. It's just relaying my own experience. I often find that advice is autobiographical, in the sense that the giver is either trying to get you to justify their life choices, or worse, trying to get you to live vicariously. You should ask this question that I never asked myself, but I want to see how it works if somebody else does it. Either which way, it's your life, you decide. And feel free to ask us more questions. We love them. So to be continued. Thanks, folks.